This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Wendy Beckman and I'm a registered dietitian with the New York State Office for the Aging and SnapEd New York. Thanks for joining me today on What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Today I'm going to be making a bulgur and chickpea salad. We'll be posting the link to the recipe below. The recipe can also be found on the SnapEd New York website at www.snapedny.org. Before I start cooking, let's look at my plate. My plate is a reminder to us of what our plate should look like every time we sit down to eat. This recipe will be covering the grains section of my plate. Remember that the dietary guidelines for Americans recommend that you make half of your grains whole grains. Whole grains provide us with fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Fiber can help us to feel full longer, and it helps to regulate our digestive system. The bulgur in this recipe is a whole grain. Whole grains contain all of the parts of the plant without stripping anything off during processing. Whole grains have more fiber than their white counterparts. Most Americans don't get enough fiber in their diets, so aiming to make half of your grains whole grains can increase the amount of fiber in your diet. Remember that everything you eat and drink over time matters. You want to find your healthy eating style and maintain it for a lifetime. The right mix can help you be healthier now and in the future. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the end to find out what I'll be making next month. So let's start talking about this recipe. Before you start cooking, remember to wash your hands with soap for at least 20 seconds or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. So let's look at the ingredients for the recipe. I have the ingredients here for the salad and also for the dressing. So first I'm going to review the ingredients for the salad. This recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups of water to cook the bulgur in. And this is the bulgur. You need a cup of bulgur for this recipe. You also need some fresh parsley, and here's about a tablespoon of fresh parsley. The recipe calls for dried, but I had fresh, so that's what I'm using. Here is a teaspoon of dried minced onion. I also have a teaspoon of soy sauce. The recipe calls for 1 1/2 cup of scallions or green onions, but I have chives here because that's what I had. I didn't have any scallions. And then here is a 1/2 cup of raisins. I have a 1/2 cup of chopped carrots. There is 3/4 cup of canned chickpeas, and they have been drained and rinsed. So now let's review the ingredients for the dressing. First, I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You need also 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. There is a tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 clove of garlic that has been minced. You can use jarred garlic if you want to. And last, you can add some black pepper to taste if you want to. Now, the first thing that the recipe calls for is to boil the water in a medium saucepan so that you can then stir in the bulgur. I'm not going to do that because I've already pre-cooked my bulgur, but I am going to add to the pan the parsley. So first I'm going to add in this fresh parsley. If you're going to use dried, you don't have to use quite as much. And I have this on low heat. I can probably turn it up to medium. I have a little bit of oil in the pan. So we're going to put the parsley in first. And then next goes in the dried minced onion. Now, if you wanted to use fresh onion, you could do that too. But I'm using the dried onion. That's what the recipe calls for, and that is what I had. Last, we're going to add in the 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. So just a little bit of soy sauce right now. I do use low sodium soy sauce. I use it for everything anymore. I used to use regular soy sauce, and then I find it really now just to be too salty. So I always use the lower sodium soy sauce. Now, once the bulgur is in there and the water is in there with the rest of the ingredients, you want to cover the mixture and reduce the heat to a simmer. You'll then simmer for 15 to 20 minutes until all of the water is absorbed. You want to make sure that the bulgur is soft and not crunchy, but don't overcook it or it'll just become mushy. Just like rice will do that if you overcook it. Now, in the interest of time, I pre-cooked my bulgur and it's behind me, and I'm going to get that right now. So here is the bulgur. This is what it looks like when it's cooked. And you can see that it looks like a lot of other grains when they're cooked. I'm going to add this to the pan now. just so that the soy sauce and the onions and the parsley flavors can all mix together with this bulgur that's already been cooked. So we're going to add this together. Now this is a cold salad, so I don't want this to get super hot, but I do want these ingredients to sort of go together. Bulgur is a grain, like I said, whole grain, that is popular in the Mediterranean area. If you've ever eaten tabbouleh, then you have had bulgur. It's not something that I see very often, but you can usually find it in your store. So there, I think that that's mixed together enough. Now, once you cool it down, you add the rest of the ingredients and top it off with the dressing. So I'm going to turn off the heat here now. When you cool the cooked bulgur, it's best to cool it in the refrigerator. You can cool it briefly on the counter so that you don't put it in the refrigerator when it's steaming hot, but you don't want to leave it on the counter for too long because keeping food in what's called the danger zone, or less than 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and warmer than 40 degrees Fahrenheit for too long can promote the growth of harmful bacteria, and that can cause food poisoning. So once the bulgur has cooled for several minutes on your kitchen counter, make sure you move it to the refrigerator to finish cooling before putting the rest of the salad together. All right, so now I'm going to take this and move it behind me just so it cools down a little bit more, because next I'm going to mix up the salad dressing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to add all of the ingredients for the salad dressing into this bowl, and then we're going to whisk it together. I have this carrot here. I'm going to chop that up in just a minute. But first we're going to add the olive oil, which is right here. And then we're going to add the lemon juice. Last, we're going to add some soy sauce. That's all of the liquid ingredients. And then we need to add in our garlic. Like I said, this is fresh garlic, but you can use jarred if you want to. If you have a hard time mincing things, you have some trouble with your hands that have pain in them or something, it's okay to use jarred garlic. I know that some chefs will tell you it's not, but it is okay. And then I have some pepper I'm going to add here. All right, now I'm just going to use a whisk. You can use a fork, and we're going to whisk that all together. Now, you can add more or less pepper. You can use white pepper if you want to. That's a little hotter than the black pepper. Whatever amount of heat that you want. That's really the beauty of making things at home. You have control over how much spice goes in there, and you know what ingredients are going into your food. Now, after we have cooled the bulgur for a little while, we're going to take that mixture and we're going to put it in a large bowl and mix it all together. So let me move this out of the way. And I'm going to bring in this bowl, and first I am going to put the bulgur mixture back in the bowl. So let's do that. Let's take this. Again, if you have cooked it at the time that you're making the rest of this, it is something you can make ahead of time, right? If you wanted to make the salad the day before, you could get the bulgur, cook it up, put it in the fridge to cool it, and then put the rest of the salad together the next day, and that would work out really well. So once your bulgur has cooled, you're going to add in, I'm going to add in chives. If you have green onions or scallions, you're going to add in those. So let's put in the chives. All right, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to add some raisins. And then I have the carrots. I don't need that dried stuff anymore. And then we would add the chickpeas. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to mix this together so you can sort of start to see all of those colors in there and see that come together. That looks really good. And then I'm going to move this out of the way just for a second because I am going to chop up this carrot here. So when I have a larger carrot like this, I like to cut it like into 2 or 3 sections just because it's going to be easier for me to handle. I'm going to cut that like that. And then I like to cut the longer pieces in half. And you can chop it up this way, or you can cut it in half again so that you sort of end up with quarters. All right. And then you're going to make sure that you keep your fingers out of the way. The best way to do that is sort of curl them out of the way. And then you can push the food along as you need to advance it so you can cut it into fairly uniform pieces. All right. So that's a good way to do the carrots. Carrots are a really good source of beta carotene, which is a precursor to vitamin A. You may have heard the little wives' tale that they're good for your eyes. And that's because vitamin A is needed in your eyes for your vision. But, I mean, carrots are good for you, but they're not necessarily exactly good for your eyes. So, but eat them anyway. All right. So there is that. Got those pieces of carrot. I'm going to set these aside. Now, let's take the rest of this salad. We're going to mix it up here. You can see all of that coming together. That looks great. Bulgur, since it is a whole grain, lots of fiber in this. Really nice, colorful recipe. And then we're going to take this. We're going to have the dressing and pour it over the top. There we go. That looks good. And now we can mix it again finally. There I can really smell the garlic when you add that dressing onto the top of this beautiful, colorful salad. That looks wonderful. All right. I think that's it. So there. That was easy, right? Now, after we mix everything together, you're going to put the salad in the refrigerator and cool it completely, because some of your ingredients, the chives or the carrots or the raisins, right, might have been room temperature, and you want to make sure that everything is cooled completely. So like I said, the salad has lots of fiber in it because it's not just the bulgur, but the chickpeas also, lots of fiber in those. You have the carrots and the scallions for some crunch and a little color, and some raisins for sweetness. I think that this would make a nice side dish if you happen to be doing some grilling outside. I hope this recipe gave you some more ideas on how to make half of your grains whole grains. Don't forget to join me next month when I share more tips on how to save time, save money, and eat healthy. In July, I'll be making pasta with beans and greens. It sounds like another great way to include more whole grains and veggies into your diet. I'll be back with another edition of What's Cooking with NYSOFA on Friday, July 25th at 12:30 p.m. right here on the New York State Office for the Aging Facebook page and the New York State Office for the Aging YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any new recipes. This presentation was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP-Ed New York. This program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP-Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material was funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian Wendy Beckman, host of What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to share healthy, nutritious recipes with you on the show. I work for the New York State Office for the Aging, and thanks to a partnership with SNAP-Ed New York, our nutrition team reaches hundreds of thousands of older New Yorkers each year. So why a cooking program? 60% of health costs and related issues have nothing to do with health, but instead have to do with individual behaviors like our food choices and physical activity. The recipes we feature are nutritionally appropriate for older adults, meeting critical nutrition requirements for healthy aging. What I bet you don't know is that this show is only part of a larger effort. To help me explain what our nutrition team at the New York State Office for the Aging does and what a registered dietitian is, here is registered dietitian Lisbeth Irish.
A registered dietitian is a professional who has training and education in food and nutrition. To become an RD, you must complete certain requirements, including a minimum of a bachelor's degree from an institution that's accredited by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. You must also pass a national examination and meet continuing education requirements. What does that mean? As RDs, we are qualified to offer accurate advice about nutrition, and we can help answer your questions about how diet can affect your health. At NYSOFA, the registered dietitians handle many tasks. This includes hosting 2 online programs aimed at helping older New Yorkers make better nutrition choices. These programs are What's Cooking with NYSOFA, which is our monthly cooking demonstration, and a Facebook Live program that I host called Ask the Experts, Nutrition Edition. In the months ahead, be on your lookout for it. We'll be sharing your questions and our experts' answers about nutrition and health. New episodes of Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition debut the second Friday of each month on Facebook and YouTube.
As Lizbeth explained, registered dietitians at NYSOFA handle many tasks, including food safety at congregate meal sites, educational materials, and outreach. In the meantime, please don't miss an episode of either show produced by our team, What's Cooking with NYSOFA and Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition. Every episode is uploaded to YouTube, and you'll find the archive shows there.
Do you have a question about foods? Or do you have a particular health issue that you'd like to improve by changing your diet? Tune in to Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition every second Friday at 1 p.m. We'd love to hear from you.
Remember, registered dietitians are the experts in nutrition. Visit for more sound advice about eating healthy on a budget.